Yo, what's going on, guys? Christopher Flakes here. Welcome to Extra Christopher. We got a video by the man, Jimmy High Roller here. How an ex-NBA player stole $1 million and almost got away with it. So it sounds like the dude did get caught here. So yeah, guys, let's check out this video and see what the story is here.
Greed is a powerful thing. For some, it can lead to betrayal and deception. But this basketball star took his greed to a whole new level.
My favorite college. Not good.
What's up, everybody? It's Jimmy, and we can all be a bit selfish at times. Leaving the seat up, finishing someone else's leftovers, pure greed. But Rumeal Robinson may have redefined the definition of greed. The once basketball superstar got a taste of the good life and just couldn't let it go. But let's back it up for a minute and go back to the beginning. 1966. Rumeal Robinson was born in Jamaica. Right from the jump, Robinson didn't have the easiest life growing up. His mother moved to Boston when he was just a toddler, leaving him with his grandparents. But like many young children, Rumeal wanted a relationship with his mother, so when he turned 10, he moved to the US in hopes of being reunited with his mom. But this never quite happened. After moving to the US, Rumeal's mother made it clear she wanted nothing to do with him, leaving him to find places to stay on his own. Rumeal spent weeks at a time sleeping in apartment halls and stairways, and this gifted athlete may have never found a way out if it wasn't for a woman named Helen Ford and her husband Lou Ford. After talking to Rumeal at a local community center, Helen realized he was homeless, and just like that, she took him in and adopted him. Rumeal's brother Donald was the first to notice his exceptional athleticism. Donald says Rumeal excelled at every single sport he played. He was gifted, but it was basketball where Rumeal was in a league of his own. Robinson attended Cambridge Ridge and Latin High School, where he had an immediate impact on the basketball team. His teammate at the time, Marshall Jones, said he worked harder than anyone else on the team, and his hard work paid off when he led them to a state championship in 1986. It didn't take long for college programs to notice Rumeal's talent. The following fall, Rumeal was at the University of Michigan on a full-ride scholarship. But he wasn't just any college basketball player. Rumeal was a star while at Michigan, averaging 15-6 and leading the Wolverines to a winning record each season. Rumeal is even considered one of the top 10 best basketball players to ever go to the University of Michigan. But it was his junior year that he gained superstar status by sinking 2 clutch free throws with just 3 seconds left in the game to win the 1989 NCAA championship. The street he grew up on was named after him. He was even featured on the cover of Sports Illustrated as a collegiate athlete. After his success at Michigan, Robinson was drafted 10th overall in the 1990 NBA draft. A poor kid from Jamaica who was abandoned by his own mother, now playing in the NBA. It's almost like it's too good to be true, and that's because it was. This is where things began to go downhill for Robinson. You would think signing a 4-year deal for $4.3 million would solve all your problems, but all it did for Rumeal was create more. Robinson began spending money faster than he could count it. Clubs, parties, houses, jewelry, anything and everything you could spend your money on, Rumeal was buying it. And all this spending took his attention away from basketball, and it was starting to take a toll. He was slacking off in practice, he was clashing with coaches, and he was relying heavily on his natural abilities. Now, not many players on the planet can play in the NBA on just natural ability. And last time I checked, Rumeal Robinson isn't LeBron or Giannis. Like many players who lack work ethic and cause problems in the locker room, Rumeal began to bounce around the NBA. From Atlanta to New Jersey to Charlotte, Portland, Los Angeles, Phoenix, 6 teams in 6 years. Needless to say, it wasn't long before Rumeal was playing ball overseas. His ego got so out of hand that he refused to even ride the bus with his team in Croatia because it just took too long. At this point in his career, Robinson had to face the fact that he might not be the player he once was. So just like that, Rumeal threw in the towel and retired from basketball. But he wasn't quite ready to retire from the lifestyle. Rumeal had to find a way to live the lifestyle of an NBA player without the skills of one. Robinson sells his mansion in Atlanta and settles in Miami, where he comes up with an idea that would impress even the most savvy businessman. A 25,000-acre oasis the likes Jamaica has never seen before. A billion-dollar resort. Robinson even started his own company, Megalodon Development. All of this from a basketball player with no business, land development, or real estate experience. Not only does Rumeal have no experience, he has no money, and neither does his family. But what his mother does have is a house. The house Rumeal grew up in, and being the loving mother she is, she takes out a mortgage on her home for $600,000 and hands it over to Rumeal. He promises that soon she'll be rich. Big mistake, Mama Ford, because what she doesn't realize is that Rumeal plans on transferring the title of her home over to a business associate. Over the course of the next year, Rumeal takes out a mortgage for $500,000, refinances the home for $625,000, and and once again flips the house a third time for $1 million. In just 1 year, his mother's house went from a value of $400,000 with no debt to a house with $1 million of debt. Where did all the money go? None other than Ramil and his ridiculous spending habits.
Oh no.
And of course, none of this money went towards funding the resort. But stealing from his mother wasn't enough to satisfy Ramil. He then got in contact with a loan officer who was a former college basketball player. Knowing what Ramil had achieved in the sport, the loan officer was a bit starstruck and virtually gave Robinson everything he asked for. Loans that added up to over $1.1 million in less than a year, in which he spent every dime of. How much went to this grand resort? Just $50,000. Over $1 million of other people's money on jewelry, cars, clothes, clubs, basically everything besides what he said it was for. Even worse, Ramil didn't even make the payments on his mother's house, so she got evicted out of the home she had paid off over 2 decades ago. This is how this man repays the woman that took him in off the streets. Shortly after, Ramil's brother Donald went searching for him out in Miami to find answers. Ramil was so broke that he was driving around a $100,000 Mercedes and couldn't even put gas in it. Friends, banks, lenders, and even his own mother fooled into believing this man actually had an investment opportunity. But it didn't take long for the feds to crack down on Robinson's greed. In 2011, Ramil was sentenced to 6.5 years in prison and was ordered to pay back $1.1 million in restitution to the bank he stole from. The once basketball star went from college basketball immortality in the cover of magazines to a prison cell, all out of greed. Pending a sentencing hearing, Robinson was interviewed about the whole situation, how he betrayed his own mother for some money. Ramil responded by saying he could care less. A house doesn't make a man or a woman. Helen knew I never liked that house anyways.
I mean,
if
she
that's
liked
the only
it.
thing you think you have, maybe you should have gone to college and learned how to study 7 subjects, and not just one thing in your life. Unbelievable. Ironically enough, Helen did go back to school and get her master's in education.
Good for you, Helen.
It was Ramil who didn't graduate from college. Helen eventually got her house back in 2013, but now must make payments on the house that she already owned. A relatively happy ending to a story of greed and betrayal. The sign that once read Ramil Way now reads Helen in Louis Ford Square. Just goes to show, some people cannot be trusted.
Okay, so I watched this video here. Obviously, you guys just saw me do it. Yeah, trust is definitely a thing. I think a lot of it is also psychological issues, just because when you grow up having no money or anything like that, and then you get a taste of that life, what he did, of course, is inexcusable. Like, yeah, I mean, he was a freaking scumbag when it was all said and done. But I feel like it doesn't come down to just like, I think a lot of it is definitely mental, because for you to do that to a family member, your own mother there, it's just absolutely asinine. It's like you're not right in the head for that to actually happen. So I don't know, guys. I mean, that definitely was a sad story, because, like, you see, like, this dude, like, it was a good story up to that point. It was like, you know, dude's parents abandoned him, which isn't happy or anything, but, you know, he could come back story, ends up getting a full ride scholarship to Michigan, plays basketball, drafted top 10, good basketball player, and then all this stuff happens out there, just kind of loses the work ethic. I don't know, man. It's kind of, it definitely is a sad story, but I guess that's how the, I don't know, man. That's just how it is sometimes, right? It's just how it is sometimes. People can be bitch asses.